that there is actually a security meeting going on at the Kenya School of Government. Of course, this is happening during this dynamic policing environment that we have been going through. We know the CS Interior, that is Fred Matiang'i, is in attendance, and of course other stakeholders. And our reporter Leila Mohammed has been in attendance, and she now joins us with the latest. Leila?
Well, Gladys, it's been a morning where all the stakeholders from the National Police Service and the security sector were sitting in just to discuss, like any other organization, on the do's and the don'ts and the weaknesses and the strengths of the National Police Service. And this particular morning, it seems like Fred Matiang'i, the man in charge of Interior, seems to be taking a new tone, one of where he believes that police officers are human beings and they are prone to error in any situation. Specifically, he gave a point in case where there was that individual police officer who was captured on camera really dealing with a suspected criminal in such a heinous manner. And this morning he was saying that this was not the way the police service should work, and he was very happy how very fast the Inspector General of Police took that issue, and the officer has been taken through the process of going through investigations and will be reprimanded as such. And this particular morning, Dr. Fred Matiang'i was laying bare on the table and saying that there is need for the National Police Service to engage with other stakeholders, including the civil society, which before or during the two presidential elections of 2017 were very critical against what the police were doing. And he was very categorical in stating that there are certain areas where the police were prone to errors, and they might have committed some errors that they believe the civil society should also engage with them in terms of how to better their services. Irungu Houghton from the Amnesty International saying that 38 is the number of persons who have died in the hands of police in that particular period. This is a higher number, rising to 252 from the previous numbers in 2016. And he was stating that there are certain circumstances where the police service have done well, like those police officers who on a day-to-day basis help children or the elderly to cross the road, or they do diligence in their service. They're not able to accept bribes, and they're just very good to their works of service. So this particular event was just a group of people who do a dynamic job and who have always been on the other side of the critiques in terms of government, how the public views their workforce. And they were just sitting together with all the stakeholders. The National Police Service Commission, the IPOA is also here. We've also seen the EACC is here. The Director of Public Prosecutions is also here. In that particular meeting later in the day, we're also seeing members of the judiciary, and they have stated variously that the police have not been in a position to do their job well in terms of investigating and doing the paperwork right, so that to ensure that those investigations that they're taken to court, they don't fail. Just last week we were covering a story about a suspected pedophile, and he was taken through the paces, and there are some of those residents of Kibra who are saying, despite the fact that they go to the police service to report such instances, they don't feel like they get enough justice as soon as they should, and they would prefer to sit it out with the perpetrators per se and get on with their lives. But this time around, Fred Matiang'i insists that the police service needs to change. They need to listen more and be more accepting of what other services, including the civil society, are saying against them or for them. There needs to be a place where we are talking to each other, not at each other, and accepting our mistakes as a service. And those are the words of Dr. Fred Matiang'i, who has just left in the last 5 minutes. And this will be a discussion that they will engage with various sectors of the civil society, not just Amnesty International. And they're saying they will take the numbers of Transparency International seriously, Amnesty International as well. There are other stakeholders. Muhuri is also represented here. And we've just had a chat with with the Secretary General of Muhuri, and he says there are so many issues arising at the coast. Youth who were previously in sectors that have now been taken over by other government projects, and now they've lost jobs, and they're saying they have no other ways of creating incomes to themselves, and they're engaging in criminal activities. So he was hoping to hear from the Cabinet Secretary on what plans they have to ensure that the government also looks into this ideology of the youth being given opportunities to take care of themselves financially, so that they don't engage in criminal activities. So those are some of the issues they have been looking into, and they will be discussing this across the day, and they hope to come up with solid answers that will improve their service delivery. Also, there was a presentation from a professor of the University of Nairobi, and he was giving certain instances where there is need for the National Police Service to improve with the technology and not to use, for lack of a better word, going back to the analog system when everyone else is in the digital sphere. The criminals this time are using more superior weapons, and he was insisting that the police should be taken care of in terms of their welfare. How do they live? What kind of machinery do they use? How are they engaged in terms of improving their financial status? There were also those issues, you remember we covered a few weeks ago about their pay being cut down. Such issues that the police service needs to look into, just to ensure that the police officer who is tasked with the responsibility of taking care of the security of many other Kenyans is also treated as a human being, as he deserves. Gladys.
Leila Mohammed speaking to us from the Kenya School of Government. A lot of issues in as far as the security of this country discussed, and of course also how to take care of those security enforcers has been on the table. Earlier on, we'd been listening to the Kenya Director for Amnesty International, Irungu Houghton. Of course, he was touching on some of the basic rights that come with those that are actually enforcers of security in this country, and a lot will continue being discussed throughout that meeting that is going on at the Kenya School of Government.